The navy blue injection kit sat on Dr. Hassan Nazari's desk between us. I recognized it immediately. Diane had brought it home 2 years ago, right after my husband Richard died. She'd called it a care package, told me how lucky I was to have a nurse in the family who could save me those exhausting trips to the clinic every month. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. Nazari hadn't touched the kit yet. He just stared at it like it might bite him. "Susan," he said, and something in his voice made my chest tighten. "Can I see the vial she uses?" I pulled it from my purse. The small glass bottle felt cold in my palm. I'd carried it with me for 2 years, 48 trips from Diane's capable hands into my left hip, sometimes my right shoulder when the arthritis was particularly bad there. The liquid inside was clear, slightly viscous. I'd never questioned it. Dr. Nazari unscrewed the cap with hands that weren't quite steady. He was my age, 70, maybe 71. He and Richard had played golf together every other Saturday for 15 years before the cancer took Richard. I trusted him the way you trust someone who's seen you at your weakest and never judged. He held the vial up to the light. His face went pale. "This isn't for arthritis." The words landed flat and heavy. Outside his office window, a school bus rolled past on Wilmington Avenue. Normal Tuesday afternoon in Dayton, but nothing felt normal anymore. "What do you mean?" "The substance in this vial." He set it down carefully, like it might explode. "It shouldn't be in your body at all, Susan." I thought about Diane's hands, smooth and confident, the way she'd swab my skin with alcohol, tap the syringe twice to clear air bubbles, tell me to relax. The slight sting, then the warmth spreading through the injection site. She'd been so gentle, so thorough. "What is it?" Dr. Nazari pulled out his prescription pad, wrote something quickly. "I need to send this to the lab, today, and I need you to get blood work done immediately. Hassan." I used his first name, something I rarely did. "Tell me what you think it is." He met my eyes. We'd known each other long enough that he couldn't lie to me. "It's a muscle relaxant. Methocarbamol, if I'm reading the concentration correctly. Completely inappropriate for chronic use. Long-term exposure can cause serious kidney damage, among other things." The room tilted slightly. I gripped the armrest of my chair. "My daughter-in-law is a pediatric nurse," I said stupidly, as if credentials could explain this away. "She graduated top of her class at Miami University. I know who Diane is." His voice was gentle now, the way you speak to someone receiving bad news. "That's what makes this so concerning." I thought about last Sunday after church. Diane had pulled me aside in the fellowship hall, said my next injection was due Thursday. She'd been eating a slice of pound cake someone brought for the bake sale, smiling at Reverend Grant across the room. Megan, my granddaughter, had been with her, showing me photos from her nursing school orientation on her phone. Everything normal, everything fine. "How long have I been getting these injections from her?" "You said 2 years?" 25 months, since October 2022, right after Richard's funeral. Dr. Nazari made a note. "And how have you been feeling? Specifically your kidney function, urination, any unusual fatigue?" I thought about the exhaustion I'd attributed to grief, the way I'd been urinating more frequently, which I'd blamed on age, the occasional confusion, the names I couldn't remember, the appointments I'd missed because I'd written them down wrong. "I've been tired," I admitted, "but Richard died. I thought it was normal to be tired. Susan, I need to be very direct with you." He leaned forward. "If what I suspect is true, someone has been systematically poisoning you. Not enough to kill you quickly, but enough to deteriorate your health gradually. Make you seem forgetful, confused, dependent." The word poisoning hung in the air like smoke. Why would Diane want to hurt me? Dr. Nazari opened a file on his computer. "When was the last time you updated your will?" 3 years ago, right before Richard got sick." I knew where this was going. "I left everything to Paul. The house, the savings, Richard's life insurance payout. It's all set up in trust for Megan's education. Then the remainder goes to Paul and Diane when I pass." "How much are we talking about?" "The house is worth around $285,000. Richard's pension and life insurance totaled $340,000. I've been living on Social Security and the interest. Dr. Nazari didn't say anything. He didn't have to. I thought about the piano, my mother's upright Steinway, the one I'd learned to play hymns on as a girl. Last month, Paul mentioned they'd sold it. Said they needed space in the garage for Diane's home care equipment, that I'd given them permission. I didn't remember giving permission, but I'd been so confused lately. They'd gotten $12,000 for it. Paul said he'd put it in an account for Megan's textbooks. I need to run a full metabolic panel, Dr. Nazari said. Kidney function, liver enzymes, everything. Can you come back tomorrow morning? Fast after midnight tonight. What do I tell Diane? She's supposed to give me an injection Thursday. Tell her nothing yet. His voice was firm. And do not, under any circumstances, let her give you another injection. If she asks, tell her I'm running tests and want to hold off on all medications until we have results. She'll know something's wrong. Let her wonder. I walked out of Dr. Nazari's office, holding a lab requisition form and the navy blue kit Diane had given me with such care. The October air was crisp, leaves skittering across the parking lot in shades of rust and gold. 2 years ago, those same trees had been turning when I buried Richard. Diane had held my hand at the funeral, cried alongside me. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Hi, Mom Susan. Just confirming Thursday at 2 p.m. for your injection. I'll bring apple pie. Love you. I stared at those words. Love you. She signed every message that way. I thought about her hands again, capable and sure, pressing the plunger down, sending whatever was in that vial into my body month after month. I thought about Megan, 20 years old, studying to become a nurse just like her mother. I thought about Paul, my only son, who'd married Diane 15 years ago and never questioned her judgment about anything. The phone buzzed again. Mom, you there? I typed slowly. Confirmed. See you Thursday. Then I deleted the message and typed something different. Something came up with Dr. Nazari. He wants to hold off on injections until some test results come back. I'll let you know. Her response came within seconds. What kind of tests? Are you okay? Do you want me to come over? I could feel her concern through the screen. Or was it something else? Just routine, I typed. I'm fine. Talk soon. I drove home to the house on Oakwood Avenue, the house where Richard and I raised Paul, where we hosted 43 Christmas dinners and countless Sunday suppers. The house Diane had slowly been making me feel like a guest in, suggesting I might be happier in a smaller place, something easier to manage, maybe one of those nice assisted living communities near the hospital where she could visit me every day. Inside, I set the navy blue kit on the kitchen table, opened it. The syringes were lined up precisely, each in its sterile wrapper. The vials of clear liquid, the alcohol swabs, the small sharps container for safe disposal. Everything a devoted daughter-in-law would need to care for her aging mother-in-law, or everything she'd need to slowly erase her. I closed the kit and walked to the living room. On the mantel sat a photo from Megan's high school graduation 5 years ago. Diane had her arm around my shoulders, both of us beaming. I remembered that day. How Diane had insisted I sit in the front row, saved me a seat, brought me lemonade when the ceremony ran long, back when I still believed in the version of my family I could see. The blood work came back on Friday. Dr. Nazari called me at home instead of waiting for a scheduled appointment. That told me everything before he said a word. Your creatinine levels are elevated, he said without preamble. Your kidney function is at 62%. For someone your age with no prior kidney disease, that's significant deterioration. I was standing in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Diane had given me injections at this very table. I could see the spot on the Formica countertop where she always set her supplies, arranging everything with the precision of someone who took pride in her work. How bad is it? Manageable if we stop the exposure now. But Susan, if you'd continued for another 6 months, we'd be looking at dialysis. My hand found the counter edge. Dialysis. The word conjured images of Richard's final months, hooked to machines, his body failing piece by piece. The lab confirmed methocarbamol? Yes. Therapeutic doses for short-term muscle spasms. But the concentration in your system suggests chronic administration at levels well above what's medically appropriate. Can you prove she knew what she was doing? There was a pause. That's not a medical question, Susan. That's a legal one. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out the stack of papers I'd been collecting all week. My medical records from the past 2 years. Every appointment, every complaint I'd mentioned to Diane, every symptom I'd attributed to age or grief. March 2023, mentioned frequent urination to Diane. She suggested cutting back on coffee. June 2023, told her I felt dizzy getting out of bed. She said low blood pressure, recommended more salt. September 2023, forgot my neighbor Judith's birthday for the first time in 22 years. Diane suggested I start using a pill organizer, said it was normal at my age. December 2023, missed Christmas choir rehearsal because I wrote down the wrong date. Diane told Paul I was getting confused, maybe early signs of dementia. Every symptom consistent with kidney dysfunction. Every symptom dismissed or reframed as aging, as grief, as my failing mind. My phone rang. Paul. Hey, Mom. Diane said you canceled your injection yesterday. She's worried about you. Dr. Nazari wanted to run some tests. What kind of tests? His voice had that edge it got when Diane was nearby, when he was performing for her. Routine blood work. He's concerned about my kidney function. Silence. Then, your kidneys? Since when do you have kidney problems? Since apparently the last 2 years, Paul. Did Dr. Nazari say what's causing it? This was the moment. I could tell him now, over the phone, launch the accusation that would detonate our family. Or I could wait, gather more evidence, understand exactly what Diane's endgame was. He's still running tests. I'll know more next week. Diane wants to come over, check on you herself. She's really worried, Mom. She keeps saying she should have noticed something was wrong. The performance was breathtaking. Concern. Worry. The devoted daughter-in-law who should have noticed her mother-in-law's failing health. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just need some rest. After I hung up, I did something I'd never done before. I went to my computer and searched for Diane's name combined with Nursing License Ohio. The state licensing board had a public database. Diane Marie Walsh Hollins, license number RN 483926, active status, pediatric specialty, 0 disciplinary actions, clean record, stellar recommendations, 15 years of exemplary service. I clicked on her employment history. Miami Valley Hospital, Pediatric Oncology Unit, 2009-2019. Various home healthcare agencies since then. Always glowing reviews. Then I did something that felt like betrayal but necessary. I searched for her maiden name, Diane Marie Walsh, in various combinations. Nothing unusual came up until I added lawsuit to the search. One result, a civil case from 2008 in Columbus, Ohio, before she moved to Dayton, before she met Paul. The case file was sealed, but the docket summary was public. Diane Walsh, defendant, in a case brought by the family of an elderly man named Robert Walsh. Relationship listed as father. Cause of action, financial exploitation of elderly person. Case settled out of court, terms confidential. I stared at the screen. Robert Walsh would have been Diane's father. She'd never mentioned him. In 15 years of family dinners, holidays, birthdays, she'd never spoken about her parents except to say they'd passed away when she was young. My hands were shaking. I copied the case number, printed the docket summary, added it to my growing file. The front door opened. I quickly closed the browser. Mom, you home? Megan. My granddaughter's voice was bright, innocent. She appeared in the doorway holding a grocery bag, her nursing school backpack slung over one shoulder. Mom sent me with dinner. She said you're not feeling well. I looked at Megan, 20 years old, Diane's daughter, studying to follow in her mother's footsteps. She had Paul's smile and Diane's organizational skills. Every birthday, every holiday, she sent me cards she made herself. Last year, she'd stayed with me for 3 days after I had a bad flu, sleeping on the couch so she could check on me through the night. That's sweet of her, of you. Megan unpacked the bag. Chicken soup, fresh bread, orange juice. Mom made the soup this morning. She's really concerned about your kidney thing. She wants to know what Dr. Nazari said exactly. Just that I need to make some changes. Less salt, more water, that sort of thing. Megan pulled out a container of pills from the bag. She also sent your supplements. Said you forgot to take them this week. I looked at the pills. Small white tablets I'd been taking daily for 8 months. Diane had given them to me last January. Said they were calcium supplements for bone health. Ordered them special through a medical supply company she used. What are these called again? Megan checked the label. Calcium citrate, 500 milligrams. You're supposed to take 2 daily. I took the container, read the label carefully. No manufacturer name, no lot number. Just a handwritten label. Calcium citrate 500 milliliters. Take 2 daily. Where does your mom get these? I think from her medical supplier. Why? Just curious. They look different from what I used to buy at the drugstore. Megan sat down across from me. Grandma, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you mad at Mom about something? The question caught me off guard. Why would you think that? She's been really upset since Thursday. She keeps saying you're avoiding her, that you won't let her help you anymore. She's crying a lot. Diane crying, performing grief for her daughter, building a narrative where I was the ungrateful mother-in-law, the difficult old woman rejecting help. I'm not mad at your mother, sweetheart. I'm just trying to figure some things out. About your health, among other things. Megan reached across and took my hand. Whatever it is, we'll get through it. We're family. After she left, I sat with the container of pills. I called Dr. Nazari's emergency line. I need you to test something else, I said when he answered. Diane's been giving me calcium supplements. I want to know what's actually in them. He didn't ask questions. Bring them Monday morning. First thing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the lawsuit, about Robert Walsh, about a young Diane facing accusations from her own father's family. What had she done to him? What had been severe enough to warrant a lawsuit but quiet enough to settle without criminal charges? Around 2 a.m, I got up and went to the garage. Richard's file cabinet was still there, untouched since his death. I'd been meaning to sort through it for over 2 years, but the grief had felt too heavy. Now I pulled open the drawer labeled Family Documents. Inside, I found what I was looking for. The folder from when Paul and Diane got married. Background checks, documents, the standard material from when we'd helped them buy their first house. There was a copy of Diane's birth certificate. Parents listed as Robert Walsh and Margaret Walsh, both deceased. But the civil case from 2008 showed Robert Walsh as the plaintiff's deceased relative, which meant he'd died sometime after the lawsuit was filed. Diane had lied about when her father died. I went back to the computer and searched death records for Ohio. Robert Walsh died March 2009 in Columbus. Cause of death, renal failure, kidney failure. The same thing Diane had been slowly, methodically creating in me. I thought about the piano, sold without my clear permission. About the increasing suggestions that I might need more support, that maybe a smaller place would be easier, that perhaps I was becoming a burden. About the power of attorney papers Diane had mentioned casually 3 months ago. Just in case, she'd said. So Paul can help manage your accounts if you get too tired to deal with it all. I'd signed them. She'd watched me do it, had them notarized by someone from her hospital. I remembered thinking how thoughtful she was, how prepared, how loving to want to protect me this way. Now I understood. She was building the infrastructure to take everything, just like she'd taken from her own father. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane, 3 a.m. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about you. Please let me come over tomorrow. I'm so worried. I love you, Mom. I stared at those words. I love you, Mom. She'd called me Mom since the wedding. I'd been so touched, so grateful to be included in her life that way. Now the word felt like poison. I typed back, I'm fine. Let's talk next week. Her response was immediate. Why are you shutting me out? What did I do wrong? She knew. Somehow she knew I was pulling away and she was scrambling. Nothing wrong. Just need space to process my health stuff. That's what I'm here for, to help you process. Please don't push me away. The manipulation was so smooth, making my boundaries sound like rejection, making her concerns sound like love. I turned off my phone and sat in the dark, listening to the house settle around me. This was the house where I'd raised Paul, where Richard and I had built 47 years of marriage, where I'd planned to live out my final years in peace. Diane wanted to take it from me. Not quickly, not obviously, but gradually. Make me sick enough to need care, confused enough to need management, dependent enough to need saving. Then she'd save me right into a facility somewhere, sell the house, access the accounts, and play the devoted daughter-in-law who'd sacrificed so much for her difficult mother-in-law. I'd seen it before with other families at church, adult children slowly assuming control, good intentions paving roads to financial exploitation. But Diane's intentions had never been good. They'd been lethal. Sunday morning, I couldn't get out of bed. Not wouldn't. Couldn't. My legs felt like they were filled with sand, my head pounded, and when I tried to sit up, the room spun so violently I had to lie back down and close my eyes. I'd missed choir practice yesterday. Now I was going to miss service. 35 years I'd sung soprano in the Oakwood Methodist Choir. 35 years of Sunday mornings in the loft, Reverend Grant's sermons washing over me, my voice blending with Judith's and Carol's and all the others who'd become family through shared hymns and potluck dinners. Last week, I'd barely made it through Amazing Grace without losing my breath. Carol had asked if I was feeling all right. I'd blamed allergies. Now I understood. My kidneys were failing, and my body was shutting down. The phone rang around 9:30. Judith. Susan, where are you? Reverend Grant is asking. I can't make it today. My voice sounded thin, distant. Are you sick? Just tired. You've been tired a lot lately. There was concern in her voice, the real kind, not Diane's performance. Should I come over after service? No, I'm fine. I just need to rest. After I hung up, I lay there staring at the ceiling. The water stain above the window looked like a bird with spread wings. Richard and I had always meant to fix it, but somehow 40 years passed and the bird remained, a permanent fixture of our bedroom. Around noon, I heard the front door open, footsteps on the stairs. My bedroom door opened without a knock. Diane stood in the doorway holding a covered dish. Paul gave me his key, she said, as if that explained the invasion. Megan said you didn't look well yesterday. I brought lunch. She set the dish on my nightstand. Chicken and rice, the same meal she'd brought the week Richard died, when I couldn't bring myself to eat anything, and she'd sat beside me, spooning broth into my mouth like I was a child. You shouldn't have come. Of course I should. Your family. She sat on the edge of my bed, reached out to touch my forehead. I pulled back. I said I needed space. Her hand hung in the air for a moment before she withdrew it. Susan, what's going on? Why are you acting like this? Like what? Like I'm a stranger. Like you don't trust me. Her eyes were wet, perfect tears, trembling on her lower lids but not falling. I've been taking care of you for over 2 years. I thought we were close. We are close. Then why won't you let me help you? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Diane was 44 but could pass for 35. Smooth skin, perfect posture, the kind of woman who photographed well at church events. Paul had been so proud when he brought her home 15 years ago. She was beautiful and accomplished and made him feel like he'd won something. What I'd mistaken for devotion was actually patience, the long game. Dr. Nazari wants to run more tests before we resume any treatments. What kind of tests? He didn't specify. Susan. Her voice changed, hardened slightly. I'm a nurse. I can't help you if you don't tell me what's happening. There's nothing to tell yet. She stood abruptly. Fine. Push me away. But when you need help, when you can't remember what day it is or you fall and can't get up, who do you think is going to be there? She left the dish and walked out. I heard her footsteps heavy on the stairs, heard the front door close harder than necessary. I waited 10 minutes, then dragged myself to the bathroom and poured the chicken and rice down the toilet. Monday morning, Dr. Nazari called with results on the calcium supplements. They're not calcium. I was sitting at the kitchen table with cold coffee. What are they? Benzodiazepines, low-dose sedatives. Combined with the methocarbamol, they'd create confusion, memory issues, coordination problems. How long would it take for symptoms to appear? 6 to 8 months of daily use. You said she started giving these to you in January? Yes. It's November. You've been taking them for 10 months. I thought about all the times I'd felt confused, foggy, slower than usual. The time I'd forgotten to turn off the stove and burned a pot of soup. The morning I couldn't remember my own phone number and had to look it up. The day I'd gotten lost driving home from the grocery store. Streets I'd known for 40 years, suddenly unfamiliar. Diane had been there for all of it. Comforting, concerned, gently suggesting that maybe I shouldn't drive anymore. Maybe I needed someone to check on me daily. Maybe I should consider giving Paul more control over my finances. What should I do? Stop taking them immediately. Your system should clear in a few weeks. And Susan? His voice was grave. You need to talk to a lawyer. What she's done is criminal. After I hung up, I went to Richard's desk and pulled out the power of attorney documents Diane had prepared 3 months ago. I read them carefully this time. They weren't limited. They were durable and comprehensive. Paul could access all my accounts, sell my property, make medical decisions, move me to a care facility, all without my consent once the document was activated. And activation only required one thing: a doctor's statement that I was mentally incapable of managing my own affairs. Diane was a nurse. She knew doctors. She could find one willing to sign a form based on the symptoms she'd been creating. I was sitting there staring at the papers when someone knocked. I opened the door to find Reverend Grant on my porch. Susan, I've been worried about you. So Michael Grant was 68, had been pastor of Oakwood Methodist for 23 years. He'd married Paul and Diane, baptized Megan, presided over Richard's funeral. He was the kind of man who remembered everyone's birthday and showed up with casseroles during crises. I'm all right, Reverend. Judith said you sounded strange on the phone. She's concerned. He paused. May I come in? I let him in, made coffee I didn't drink, and sat across from him in the living room where Richard and I used to play cards on Friday nights. I haven't seen you at choir practice in 2 weeks, he said gently. And yesterday was the first service you've missed in years. That's not like you. I've been ill. What kind of ill? The kindness in his voice broke something in me. I started crying, not delicate tears, but deep, ugly sobs I'd been holding back for weeks. I think my daughter-in-law has been poisoning me. I told him everything. The injections, the supplements, the test results, the lawsuit against Diane's father, the power of attorney trap. He listened without interrupting, his face growing graver with each revelation. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. This is very serious, Susan. Have you told Paul? How do I tell my son his wife has been trying to kill me? Is that what you think she's trying to do? Kill you? I think she's trying to make me disappear. Into a facility. Into confusion. Into irrelevance. And then take everything Richard and I built. Reverend Grant stood and walked to the window. Outside, November wind scattered leaves across my yard. The maple tree Richard planted when Paul was born was almost bare. You need more than spiritual counsel, he said finally. You need legal protection and probably police involvement. If I go to the police, I destroy my family. Paul will never forgive me. If you don't go to the police, you might not live long enough for Paul's forgiveness to matter. The bluntness shocked me. Reverend Grant was usually diplomatic, gentle with hard truths. There's something else, I said. I think Diane did this before, to her own father. I showed him what I'd found. The lawsuit, the death certificate, the timing. He read through everything twice. Robert Walsh died of kidney failure, just like what's happening to you. Yes, Susan, this woman is dangerous. You can't handle this alone. I don't know who to trust. Paul is on her side. Megan doesn't know anything. If I accuse Diane, everyone will think I'm the confused old woman she's been telling them I am. I believe you, Reverend Grant said firmly. And so will Judith. So will Dr. Nazari. You're not alone in this. After he left, I sat in the empty house and felt the weight of what was coming. The confrontation, the accusations, the family destruction. Paul would have to choose between his mother and his wife. Megan would have to accept that her mother was a monster, and I would have to be strong enough to see it through. My phone buzzed. A text from Paul. Diane says you're being hostile to her. She's really hurt, Mom. Can you please just let her help you? She only wants what's best for you. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed, we need to talk, all of us, this weekend. His response came quickly. About what? About the truth. I sent it before I could reconsider. Within minutes, Diane called. I didn't answer. She called again. Then Paul. Then Diane again. Finally, a text from Diane. What truth are you talking about? Susan, you're scaring me. Please call me back. I turned off my phone and went to the garage. In the back corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and Richard's old golf clubs, I found what I was looking for. The camera Richard had bought for our anniversary trip to Yellowstone 15 years ago. We'd taken hundreds of photos, then never touched the camera again. I brought it inside, charged it, tested it. Still worked. Then I positioned it on the bookshelf in the living room, angled toward the kitchen table where Diane always gave me injections, hidden behind a picture frame and some books, invisible unless you knew to look for it. Wednesday afternoon, Diane was scheduled to bring me what she thought would be my next injection. This time, I'd have proof. Wednesday arrived gray and cold. I woke at 6, earlier than I had in months. My body still ached, but something had shifted. The fog in my head was lifting. 2 days without Diane's supplements and I could think more clearly. I tested the camera 3 times. Made sure the angle captured the kitchen table. Made sure the memory card had space. Made sure I knew how to retrieve the footage. Then I waited. Diane arrived at 2 o'clock exactly. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her key in the lock. She'd made copies of Paul's key months ago, said it was for emergencies. Now she used it like she owned the place. Susan, I'm here. Her voice was cautious, testing. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the same spot where I'd received 48 injections over 25 months. The navy blue kit sat between us, closed. You came, I said. Of course I came. You're my family. She set her purse down, studied my face. You look better, more alert. I've been resting. Good. That's good. She opened the kit with practiced efficiency, pulled out a vial, a syringe, alcohol swabs. Ready for your injection? I watched her hands. Steady, confident. The hands of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. She drew the liquid into the syringe, tapped it twice to clear air bubbles. Actually, I wanted to talk first. She paused, syringe suspended. About what? About your father. Her face went blank for a heartbeat. Then the mask returned. My father's been dead for years. Why would you want to talk about him? Robert Walsh. He died in 2009. Kidney failure. The syringe lowered slowly. How do you know that? Public records, along with the lawsuit his family filed against you in 2008. Diane set the syringe down carefully. When she looked at me, her eyes were different, harder. The performance was dropping. That case was settled. Sealed. The settlement was sealed. The case file summary isn't. I kept my voice level. They accused you of financially exploiting your own father while he was dying. They were wrong. Were they? She stood, walked to the sink, looked out the window at the backyard where Paul had played as a child. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. My father was a difficult man, paranoid. He accused everyone around him of stealing, of plotting against him. The lawsuit was his sister's idea, and she dropped it after he died because there was no evidence, because you settled, because there was nothing to find. She turned back to me. Susan, why are you bringing this up now? Because you're doing the same thing to me that you did to him. The silence stretched between us. Outside, a car passed. Inside, the refrigerator hummed. That's a terrible thing to say, Diane said finally. Dr. Nazari tested the vial you've been using. It's not arthritis medication. It's methocarbamol, a muscle relaxant that causes kidney damage with long-term use. Her face didn't change. That's what chilled me most. No shock, no denial, no horror, just calculation. That's impossible. I ordered that specifically from the pharmacy for your arthritis. He also tested the calcium supplements. They're benzodiazepines. Now something flickered across her face. Not guilt. Anger. You went behind my back. Had my medical supplies tested like I'm some kind of criminal. Are you? I'm the person who's been caring for you while everyone else forgot you existed. Her voice rose. I'm the one who checked on you every day, who made sure you ate, who helped you manage your medications when you couldn't remember what day it was. You made me forget what day it was. You're 70 years old and grieving. Your memory problems are natural. My kidney failure isn't natural. Diane picked up her purse. I don't have to listen to this. You're clearly confused, probably from missing your injections. When Paul hears about this paranoid episode, he's going to understand that you need more help than I can provide. You mean he's going to use that power of attorney you had me sign? She stopped at the kitchen doorway. That document is for your protection. It's for your access to my money, my house, my life. You have no proof of any of this. I have Dr. Nazari's lab reports. I have your father's death certificate. I have the lawsuit records. I have the power of attorney documents you drafted. Her hand tightened on her purse strap. None of that proves anything except that you're a paranoid old woman who's turned on the person trying to help her. There's a meeting this Saturday, I said. Here, 2 o'clock. You, me, Paul, and Reverend Grant. Why would I agree to that? Because if you don't, I'm going to the police Monday morning with everything I have. Diane walked back to the table, leaned down close to my face. If you accuse me of anything, I will destroy you. Paul will side with me. Megan will side with me. Every doctor who's ever treated you will testify about your declining mental state. I have documentation of every confused phone call, every missed appointment, every time you couldn't remember basic information. I've been building that file for 2 years. I know you have, so think very carefully about what you're about to do. Because you won't win this. You'll lose your son, your granddaughter, your reputation. Everyone will think you're a demented old woman who turned on her devoted daughter-in-law. She picked up the syringe, held it up to the light. Last chance. Let me give you this injection. Take your supplements, and we can forget this conversation ever happened. I'll take care of you. It'll be easier that way. Easier for who? She smiled then, and it was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. For you. Because the alternative is a very public, very ugly legal battle that you're too sick and too confused to survive. She left the syringe on the table and walked out. I sat there shaking for 5 minutes before I could move. Then I went to the bookshelf, retrieved the camera, and played back the footage. Every word, every threat, every admission captured in digital clarity. I called Dr. Nazari first. I need you to document everything. Write a complete report on my condition, the substances found, the timeline of deterioration. I need it by Friday. Susan, what's happening? I'm fighting back. Next, I called Judith. I need a favor. Can you and Reverend Grant be here Saturday at 2? As witnesses. Witnesses to what? The truth. Then I did something I'd been putting off. I called a lawyer Reverend Grant had recommended. Patricia Kemp, 63, specializing in elder abuse cases. She listened to the whole story without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Do you have the lab reports? Yes. The power of attorney documents? Yes. The camera footage from today? Yes. And you're planning to confront her Saturday with your son present? That's the plan. Susan, this is evidence of attempted murder. You should go to the police now. I need Paul to hear it from her first. If I go to the police without him understanding what happened, he'll never forgive me. He'll think I'm the paranoid old woman Diane's been telling everyone I am. Patricia sighed. I understand. But after Saturday, if she doesn't confess, we go to the police immediately. And I want to be there Saturday as well. Why? Because you need a lawyer present for what's coming, and because I want to see her face when she realizes she's been caught. Friday afternoon, Dr. Nazari delivered his report personally. 15 pages, documenting every test result, every symptom, every timeline correlation between Diane's treatments and my declining health. This is the most clear-cut case of medical abuse I've seen in 40 years of practice, he said, handing me the folder. I'll testify if it comes to that. Thank you, Hassan. Richard would be proud of you. He paused at the door. You're stronger than she thought. That night, I made dinner for the first time in weeks, just scrambled eggs and toast, but I cooked it myself, ate it at the table, washed the dishes after. Small acts of independence that felt revolutionary. I thought about Diane's threat. That I'd lose Paul, lose Megan, lose my reputation. She was probably right. Paul had been defending her for 15 years. Why would he believe me now? But I thought about Robert Walsh, Diane's father, dying alone in Columbus with kidneys that failed while his daughter administered his care. I thought about the lawsuit his family filed, trying to hold her accountable, settling because sealed agreements were easier than public trials. I thought about how many other people Diane might have done this to. How many elderly patients in her care over 15 years. How many confused, declining, isolated people who'd trusted her because she was a nurse, because she seemed devoted, because she had those steady, capable hands. Someone had to stop her, even if that someone was a 70-year-old widow with failing kidneys and a family that might not believe her. I went to bed early and slept better than I had in months. Saturday morning, I cleaned the house, vacuumed, dusted, made fresh coffee, set out cups and plates like I was hosting a normal family gathering instead of an intervention that would detonate everything. At 1:30, Reverend Grant arrived. At 1:45, Patricia Kemp pulled into the driveway, carrying a briefcase and a digital recorder. At 1:55, I heard Paul's car. He came in alone. Where's Diane? I asked. She's in the car. She's scared, Mom. She doesn't understand what this is about. His face was drawn, worried. What's so important that you needed a lawyer and a preacher present? Go get your wife, I said quietly. It's time she told you the truth. Paul walked back outside. Through the window, I watched him lean into the car, talking to Diane. She shook her head. He gestured toward the house. She shook her head again. Finally, she got out. She'd dressed carefully. Navy blue cardigan, pearl necklace, minimal makeup. She looked like someone going to a church meeting, not an interrogation. When she walked in, her eyes went straight to Patricia Kemp's briefcase. You brought a lawyer. Not a question, an accusation. Susan has legal representation now, Patricia said. Please sit down. We arranged ourselves around my dining room table, the same table where we'd celebrated Thanksgiving and Christmas for 15 years, where Megan had done her homework while Diane made dinner, where Paul had announced his promotion 3 years ago and we'd toasted with champagne. Now it felt like a courtroom. I don't understand what's happening, Paul said. He sat between Diane and me, literally caught in the middle. Mom, you said we needed to talk about the truth. What truth? I looked at my son, 47 years old, thinning hair, Richard's eyes. I'd raised him alone after Richard died, put him through college, watched him build a life. He was a good man, a loyal man. That loyalty was about to be tested. Your wife has been poisoning me for over 2 years. The words landed like stones. Paul's face went blank with shock. Diane didn't move. That's insane, Paul said finally. Mom, that's crazy. Dr. Nazari tested the injections Diane's been giving me. They're not arthritis medication. They're muscle relaxants that cause kidney damage. I pushed the lab report across the table. He also tested the calcium supplements. They're sedatives. Paul picked up the report, read the first page. His hands were shaking. This has to be a mistake. Diane would never. Show him the video, Patricia said. I'd loaded the footage onto my laptop. I turned the screen toward Paul and pressed play. We all watched Wednesday's confrontation. Diane's voice, cold and clear. If you accuse me of anything, I will destroy you. Her threat about the documentation she'd been building. Her admission that she'd been creating the appearance of my mental decline. The final moment, holding up the syringe. Last chance. Let me give you this injection, take your supplements, and we can forget this conversation ever happened. When it ended, Paul sat staring at the blank screen. Paul, Diane started. Don't. He held up his hand. His face had gone pale. Just don't talk right now. Reverend Grant leaned forward. Paul, there's more you need to know. I showed him the lawsuit documents, Robert Walsh's death certificate, the timeline that matched too perfectly to be coincidence. Diane's father died of kidney failure in 2009, the same condition she's been creating in me. His family sued her for financial exploitation right before he died. The case was settled and sealed. Those were false accusations, Diane said. Her voice was steady, but I could see the calculation in her eyes. She was deciding which strategy to use. My father was paranoid. His sister wanted his money. The lawsuit was dismissed because there was no evidence. It was settled, Patricia corrected. Which means money changed hands. Which means the family had enough evidence to make you pay rather than risk trial. Paul turned to his wife. Is any of this true? Your mother is having a mental health crisis. Diane's voice softened, took on that caring tone she used so well. She's grieving, she's scared of getting older, and she's latched onto this conspiracy theory because it gives her something to focus on besides her declining health. My declining health that you created, I said. Paul, look at me. Diane reached for his hand. He let her take it. Have I ever been anything but devoted to your mother? Haven't I checked on her every day, managed her medications, made sure she was eating properly? You made sure I was taking sedatives disguised as supplements. I gave you exactly what the doctor prescribed. Which doctor? Patricia asked sharply, because Dr. Nazari has no record of prescribing methocarbamol or benzodiazepines to Susan. She was seeing another doctor before him. Name? Diane hesitated, just for a moment, but it was enough. I don't remember. It was 2 years ago. You don't remember the doctor who prescribed long-term medication for your mother-in-law. Patricia's tone was scalpel sharp. The doctor whose treatment you personally administered for 25 months? Paul, please. Diane's eyes filled with tears, perfect, glistening tears. You know me. You know I would never hurt anyone, especially not your mother. She's family. Paul pulled his hand back. Then explain the video. Explain why you threatened her. I was angry. She'd accused me of horrible things, had me investigated like a criminal. I lost my temper and said things I didn't mean. You said you'd been documenting her mental decline for 2 years. To help her, to have records if she needed professional care. Paul, she's getting worse. You've seen it. The confusion, the forgetfulness. I've been trying to protect her. By poisoning her? Paul's voice cracked. I have never poisoned anyone. Reverend Grant spoke quietly. Diane, I've known you for 15 years. I married you and Paul in this town. I baptized Megan. He paused. If you're innocent, help us understand. Where did these medications come from? Why do the lab reports show substances that shouldn't be in Susan's system? Diane looked around the table, at Patricia's briefcase full of documents, at Reverend Grant's solemn face, at Paul's devastated expression, at me, watching her with 47 years of maternal instinct telling me she was calculating her next move. She stood abruptly. I don't have to sit here and be accused by people who've already decided I'm guilty. Paul, we're leaving. Sit down, Paul said. Excuse me? Sit down. His voice was hard now. The voice he used when Megan had lied about where she'd been. Answer their questions. Diane remained standing. You believe them over me? Your own wife? I believe the lab reports. I believe the video of you threatening my mother. I believe you're lying about something. He stood to face her. So sit down and tell me the truth, or I swear to God, Diane, our marriage is over. She sat. The silence stretched. Outside, a dog barked. Inside, I could hear my own heartbeat. The medications were appropriate, Diane said finally. Maybe the dosages were higher than standard, but Susan's pain was severe. I was trying to help her manage it. Methocarbamol isn't for arthritis, Patricia said. It can be used off-label for muscle pain. By a licensed physician, not a nurse acting independently. I consulted with colleagues. Names? Another hesitation. I don't have to give you names. Actually, you do. Patricia opened her briefcase, pulled out papers. Because I've already filed a complaint with the Ohio Board of Nursing. They'll be investigating your practices, reviewing your patient care history, interviewing everyone you've treated. If you've been practicing medicine without a license, If you've been obtaining controlled substances inappropriately, if you've been harming patients, they'll find it. Diane's face went white. You can't do that. I already did. This morning, Paul sank back into his chair. Oh my God. There's more, I said quietly. I pulled out the power of attorney documents. 3 months ago, Diane had me sign these. I thought they were limited, just for emergencies. They're not. They give Paul complete control over my life, my money, my house, my medical decisions. All he needs is one doctor to say I'm mentally incompetent. And you've been creating the appearance of incompetence, Patricia said to Diane. Documenting confusion that you caused with sedatives, building a case to have Susan declared unable to manage her own affairs. Paul picked up the documents, read through them. Mom, did you understand what you were signing? I trusted my daughter-in-law when she said it was for my protection. He looked at Diane. Did you lie to her about what these documents did? I simplified the language. She's elderly. The legal terms are confusing. Did you tell her they were comprehensive and durable? I told her they were for her protection. That's not an answer. Diane stood again. This time Paul didn't stop her. I have been a devoted wife to you for 15 years, she said, her voice shaking with anger now, not tears. I've raised your daughter, taken care of your mother, supported your career. And the minute she spins some paranoid fantasy, you turn on me? The fantasy is documented with lab reports, Paul said quietly. Lab reports that could be wrong. Videos that are taken out of context. Documents that are standard estate planning. None of this proves anything except that your mother wants to turn you against me. Why would she do that? Because she's never thought I was good enough for you. Diane's mask was cracking now, the performance slipping. Because she's jealous of the life we've built. Because she wants to control you the way she did before we got married. That's not true, I said. Isn't it? You've resented me from the beginning, the way I changed things, the way Paul prioritized me over you. You've been waiting for a chance to break us up, and now you're using this ridiculous poisoning story to do it. Paul stood slowly. Get out. What? Get out of my mother's house. Now. Paul, please. Everything you just said proved you're guilty. An innocent person would be horrified by these accusations, would want to help figure out what went wrong. Instead, you're attacking Mom, deflecting, manipulating. His voice broke. How long have you been lying to me? I've never lied to you. You're lying right now. He pointed to the door. Get out. Diane looked around the table one more time, at Reverend Grant, who met her eyes with sadness, at Patricia, who watched her with professional detachment, at me. You'll regret this, she said to me. All of you. She grabbed her purse and walked out. We heard her car start, heard gravel spray as she backed out too fast. Paul collapsed back into his chair and put his head in his hands. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Don't. His shoulders shook. Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I did. I brought her into this family. I trusted her with you. I didn't see what she was doing. She was very good at hiding it. He looked up, his eyes red. What happens now? Patricia answered. Now we go to the police. File a formal complaint. Let them investigate. The nursing board will review her license, and Susan needs to revoke that power of attorney immediately. What about Megan? Paul asked. She needs to know the truth. He nodded slowly. She's going to be devastated. Better devastated by the truth than protected by lies, Reverend Grant said gently. We sat there as afternoon light faded, making plans, signing papers, preparing for what came next. My family was broken, but I was still alive. Monday morning, I walked into the Dayton Police Department with Patricia Kemp, Dr. Nazari's 15-page report, the lab results, the camera footage, and Paul beside me. Detective Rachel Morrison took our statement in a small conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and old carpet. She was 40-something, sharp-eyed, and she didn't interrupt once during the 2 hours it took to tell the whole story. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. This is attempted murder through prolonged poisoning, elder abuse, medical fraud, possibly multiple counts if we find other victims. She looked at Paul. Your wife is facing serious prison time. Paul's face was gray. He'd barely slept since Saturday. What happens now? We get a warrant. Search her home office, her car, any location where she might have stored medications or records. We interview her former patients, her colleagues, anyone who might have observed suspicious behavior. Detective Morrison's expression softened slightly. And we arrest her. They arrested Diane on Tuesday afternoon. Paul called me from the police station. She's claiming she's the victim. Says you manipulated everyone. That the medications were prescribed legitimately. That she can prove it. Can she? No. They searched the house. Found dozens of vials of controlled substances she'd been stockpiling. Methocarbamol, benzodiazepines, opioids, all without proper documentation. The detective said it looks like she's been diverting medications from hospitals and home care agencies for years. I thought about all those elderly patients Diane had cared for in their final months. How many had died with unexplained kidney failures? How many families had mourned without knowing their loved ones had been slowly poisoned? What about Megan? Paul's voice cracked. She's staying with me. She won't talk to Diane. She's devastated, Mom. She keeps saying she should have noticed, should have seen something. She was a child when they got married. She couldn't have known. She wants to see you. Can she come over tonight? Megan arrived at 6 with red eyes and a backpack full of textbooks she hadn't opened. She stood on my porch looking small and broken, nothing like the confident nursing student I'd seen just 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry, Grandma. She burst into tears the moment I opened the door. I pulled her inside, held her while she sobbed. She smelled like Paul's soap, like she'd been staying in his guest room, wearing his extra clothes. You have nothing to apologize for. I brought you those supplements. I helped her hurt you. You didn't know what they were. She used you, sweetheart, just like she used all of us. We sat on the couch, the same couch where Diane had sat 2 weeks ago, performing concern, where she'd asked why I was acting like she was a stranger. I don't want to be a nurse anymore, Megan said quietly. Every time I look at my textbooks, I think about what she did, how she used her medical knowledge to hurt people. She corrupted something beautiful. That doesn't mean nursing itself is wrong. How can I trust myself? She's my mother. I lived with her for 20 years and never saw it. Because she's a skilled predator, Megan. She chose victims who were vulnerable, isolated. She built trust slowly. This isn't your failure. It's hers. Megan wiped her eyes. The detective called me today. They want me to testify about the times I delivered medications to you. Will you? Yes, I have to. She looked at me. Dad told me about your husband's grandfather, that she probably did this to him too. Her father, Robert Walsh. Do you think there were others? The police are investigating. They're reviewing death records for her former patients, looking for patterns. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, November darkness had fallen early. Inside, my house felt different now. Safer. The poison had been identified and removed. Grandma, can I ask you something? Anything. How did you know? What made you suspect? I thought about Dr. Nazari's face when he examined the vial. The way my body had known something was wrong even when my mind was clouded. The small inconsistencies that had accumulated over 25 months. She made one mistake, I said. She started believing her own performance. Started thinking I was actually becoming the confused old woman she was creating. She got careless. I'm glad she got careless. Megan leaned against my shoulder. I'm glad you're still here. The Ohio Board of Nursing moved faster than I expected. By Thursday, Diane's license was suspended pending investigation. By the following Monday, after reviewing the police evidence and interviewing 3 of Diane's former patients who reported similar symptoms during her care, the suspension became permanent revocation. Diane Walsh Hollins would never work as a nurse again. Patricia called to tell me the news. The board found evidence of gross negligence, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and patient abuse. She's done. What about the criminal charges? Trials set for April. The DA has a strong case, multiple victims, clear documentation, your video testimony. She's looking at 15 to 20 years. I thought about Diane in prison, wearing orange instead of her careful cardigans, growing old behind bars while her daughter built a life without her. I didn't feel triumphant, just tired and sad and grateful to be alive. Paul came over Sunday after church. The first service I'd attended in 3 weeks. People had hugged me, whispered sympathies, treated me like a survivor, which I suppose I was. How are you holding up? I asked him. Divorce papers filed yesterday. She didn't contest anything, just signed and sent them back. He sat at the kitchen table. Detective Morrison told me they found evidence linking Diane to 2 other deaths. Elderly home care patients in 2015 and 2017. Both died of kidney failure after being under her care. Oh, Paul, I married a serial killer mom, brought her into our family, let her near my daughter. His voice broke. Let her nearly kill you. You didn't know. I should have. The signs were there. The way she isolated you, the control, the performance of devotion. I just didn't want to see it. None of us wanted to see it. That's how people like Diane operate. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. This came to the house yesterday. It's from Diane. Did you read it? No, it's addressed to you. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single page, handwritten in Diane's neat cursive. Susan, you won. I hope it was worth destroying this family. What you call poisoning, I call mercy. You were dying anyway, slowly and painfully. I was helping you along, making it easier. Your husband understood. That's why he set up his estate the way he did, leaving everything to Paul. He knew you'd need care eventually. Knew someone would have to make the hard decisions. I was just doing what needed to be done. But now Paul and Megan hate me. My career is gone. My reputation destroyed. All because you couldn't accept the natural end of your life with grace. I'll be in prison while you die of old age anyway. And what will you have gained? A few more years of suffering? Congratulations. Diane. I read it twice, then handed it to Paul. His face hardened. She still doesn't think she did anything wrong. No, and she probably never will. Do you want me to tell the detective about this? It might be evidence. Keep it, in case we need it for trial. Paul folded the letter carefully. Mom, can I tell you something? Always. I'm glad you fought back, even though it destroyed my marriage, even though Megan's heart is broken, even though our family fell apart. I'm glad you didn't just accept what was happening. So am I. 3 months later, I stood in the fellowship hall of Oakwood Methodist Church, watching Megan serve coffee at the weekly support group we'd started together. Families Against Elder Abuse met every Tuesday evening. We'd started with just 5 people. Now we had 23 regulars, sharing stories, learning warning signs, supporting each other through legal battles and family fractures. Dr. Marcus Chen, a cardiologist from the congregation, approached me with a smile. He was 52, had lost his mother to similar abuse by a home care aide 5 years ago. Susan, this is incredible, what you've built here. We built it together, but you started it. You had the courage to speak up when most victims stay silent. He gestured around the room. Look at how many people you've helped. I looked, saw elderly faces learning they weren't alone. Saw adult children understanding the warning signs. Saw caregivers learning proper boundaries and documentation. Saw Megan, 20 years old, finding purpose in pain. She'd changed her major from nursing to social work, focused on elder advocacy. She'd testified against her mother in March, calm and clear despite the tears. She'd moved into my guest room, said she wasn't ready to live alone yet. We'd healed together, grandmother and granddaughter, building something new from the wreckage. Paul appeared at my elbow. Mom, there's someone here to see you. A woman in her 60s stood near the doorway, nervous. Mrs. Hollins? I'm Carol Brennan. My mother died 3 years ago under Diane Walsh's care. I'm so sorry. The police contacted me after Diane's arrest. They're reopening my mother's case. I just wanted to thank you. Her eyes filled, for being brave enough to stop her. After she left, I walked outside to the church parking lot. Spring evening, cool and clear. The maple trees were budding, preparing for another season. I thought about Diane's letter, about her conviction that she'd been providing mercy, about how she'd twisted care into control, medicine into murder, devotion into destruction. She was wrong about one thing. I hadn't won. I'd survived. And now I was making sure others could survive too. My phone buzzed, a text from Dr. Nazari. Latest labs look great. Kidney function at 84%. You're remarkable. I smiled and typed back, just stubborn. Inside, I could hear Megan laughing at something one of the group members said, could hear the murmur of conversation, the sound of healing happening in small words and shared experiences. This was my life now, not the quiet ending Diane had planned for me, but something bigger, harder, more purposeful. I'd spent 2 years being slowly erased. Now I was teaching others how to fight back. The church doors opened and Reverend Grant emerged. "Susan, are you staying for prayer circle? Wouldn't miss it." I followed him back inside, into the warmth and light, into the community that had held me when I was breaking, into the life I'd reclaimed one courageous decision at a time. Diane had wanted to make me disappear. Instead, I'd never been more visible, more alive, more free.